Great. Well, let me welcome everybody to Data Science for the Spring 2025 semester. My name is Dr. Liz Pierce. I hold many hats. I am the chair of the department, and I also teach in the areas of information science and information quality, and I help to kind of oversee a number of our various undergraduate and graduate programs. And I think next year, in 2026, I'll be celebrating 20 years at UA Little Rock. And I have been teaching this course, this must be, I guess, at least 5 or 6 years that I have been teaching this particular course. And it changes every year because data keeps changing and the technology surrounding the data keeps changing. And so what I thought I would do is, of course, welcome everybody. And then let me just do a little bit of housekeeping. And then I thought we'd do just a quick little, I want to say, ice-breaking exercise. Since this course is about data, we'll start off talking about, exactly what is it that we're going to be covering in this class. So I think what I will do here is let me just back out a little bit. And in fact, let me just back out entirely. And let me just make sure that folks know, for example, how do you find your course? We may have some students who are starting spring 2025. This is their very, very first semester. And so let's talk a little bit about how do you find this class. So from the ULR main website, a good way to find us is using the quick links. So if you ever forget, how do I get to Blackboard? You'll find it under quick links. And you'll go to this page. And in particular, you're going to want to select courses. And what you will see as a student is all the, let me put it this way, if your instructor is making, using Blackboard to distribute their course materials, you will see a screen, something like this. Keep in mind that some instructors, they may not be using Blackboard. We do have instructors that like to use Moodle, or they might be using their own course website. So hopefully they have sent out an email with instructions. Of course, some of our classes are face-to-face only. But generally, for any course that has an online component, you should see something, if nothing else, is a Blackboard course shell that, when you go into it, will then direct you to where you're supposed to go. You'll notice that on this particular display, that one of the course shells has a black line, and the other course shell has a turquoise line. And that is because right now at UA Little Rock, we are transitioning between the classic version of Blackboard to a new version that is called Blackboard Ultra. And the Ultra has sort of a different look and feel, but many of the same capabilities. And so for my class, I've already started to migrate my courses over to the new version. So if you just go ahead and click on it, it should now be open for anyone to take a look at. And this is the interface that you will see in order to get to your, really this is our course content management system. Okay. And what I have tried to do, not every instructor does this, but we do this a lot, particularly for our classes with an online component, is that it's very nice if students can kind of see the entire course, just to see, everything that is upcoming. One thing about how UA Little Rock does online that's maybe different from other institutions is that our classes, in a way, even though they're listed as online, they do have some synchronous components. So typically the course shells open with the start of the semester. While online students have the freedom as to when they want to watch the course sessions, you do have to be mindful of keeping up with the assignments. In this particular class, I don't do exams. Yeah, we got a question.
What class is this?
Oh, this is Data Science 7370.
There you go.
Which one are you looking for?
Statics and Dynamics.
Oh, Statics and Dynamics. That one I do not know.
It said EIT 220. So
does this size move there?
Oh, someone just posted a sign.
yes.
Yes.
There we go. Cool.
What did they say? Oh, E-Test 262. Okay. All right. Yes. So the one thing about the way UA Little Rock does its online is that what's asynchronous is the ability as to when you do the weekly assignments, the time you spend to do the reading materials, when you take in the sessions. But you do need to kind of adhere to, when there's going to be exams, when assignments are due. The good news for this class is I don't do an exam. Instead, I want students to try their hand at actually getting some data and analyzing it and writing about it and communicating, telling people about the types of questions that they asked about their data. So the good news is that it's really some weekly assignments to kind of reinforce what we're talking about each week, and then there's essentially a project with a little report, about your project. Okay. And by the way, we'll go into everything in more detail. So this is just kind of the big overview. One thing is you may ask, okay, if I'm in the course shell, how do I get to the virtual classroom? Well, that is now in this navigation pane on the side. And you want to look for the class collaborate. And if you click on the Twinkie, one of the things that is very nice about Blackboard Ultra is if you click on the three little dots. Now, you're not going to have as many of these. Like, I don't think that you're allowed to edit the course room settings. But you can certainly, if we back up for a moment, you can certainly click on the join session to join the session. So if you're, not on campus, or, you're in a position where you need to attend remotely, you just want to go into the Blackboard course shell, go onto the navigation pane on the side, look down the list, look for that class collaborate. You can join the session. And then the other thing I really like is the ability to view the recordings. In the old version of Blackboard, to get to the recordings, they had it buried, 3 levels deep. What's nice about Blackboard Ultra is they have put the recordings out there so that you can see them. And of course, right now we don't have a recording to view, but once that has, there we go. Yes, so right now it's coming up blank, but after today's class, you'll be able to see, oh, here's the first recording. I want to go back and play it. Okay. All right. So let me just see. What do we want to tackle in first? So just a little bit of the overview. couple things about, and I can maybe even click on student preview, just so what you're seeing is maybe more reminiscent, more resembling what you see. A couple things that they've done with the Blackboard, the new version of Blackboard Collaborate, is they've really tried to standardize what's available and where it is available. So I was going to say, I don't use the calendar too much. I do like to do the announcements. The announcements allows me to kind of push out weekly, where we are in the class and what's coming up and what's due. It's good for me to keep track, and hopefully it's good for the students. Right now, I don't have any discussions. We may end up, I think I'll leave this as a placeholder, simply because as we get further into the data analysis project, I'll make a note to myself. I think I may make that change it from research project to data analysis project discussions. This might be something that we might use later in the semester, just so that whether you're in person or remote or online, if you have questions or things, maybe we could get a discussion board going. There is a grade book, and this is letting you know what sort of assignments that we have. And interestingly enough, you can organize it by due date. Just the way that I do due dates, the due dates have some flexibility to them. I don't mind, because we've got students, for example, we have full-time students, but we also have a lot of students who are working. And depending on what's going on at work, sometimes you need a little extra time. Or even if you're a regular student, a full-time student, what if you have a flu? You might get behind in your assignments. So the main thing about those due dates is they're really meant to help you keep pace with the course. The main thing that you want to avoid is getting to the end of the semester and having a project and 10 assignments due. You want to make sure that you pace yourself. Okay, and I don't really use the groups, but there, we do have the ability to set up teams in the class. So that is something that if we have a need for it, we'll do it. So what else can you find in the Blackboard course shell? Let's just go down to content. Well, one thing I like about Blackboard Ultra is it's a lot more visual. You get a lot more ability to kind of select banners. And one thing that I like to do is I do have a syllabus, and this has a lot of the basic overview of the course. I think some of the key things is this is a broad survey course of different types of data and how to work with that type of data. And don't worry, this course is designed for folks with actually a very wide set of backgrounds. So it's helpful if you already know something about programming, relational databases, and statistics. However, we are going to have tutorials and review materials. And when it comes to the project, you can choose what level of data technology works for you. I've had students do outstanding projects using, for example, Excel spreadsheets, using Community Tableau. I've had students who have said, well, I want to use Python, or I want to use R, or, I have this, type of language that I want to work with. I've had students who said, well, I'd like to do some data mining, but I'd like to use an open source package like Weka, or maybe I have access to student editions of SPSS or SAS. So I'd like to use a package to analyze my data. And certainly, depending on the type of data that you're working with, you may want to use a specialty package. So the good news is that you can choose your approach to analyzing the data that fits where you are in your data science journey. So if you're more advanced and you want to say, I want to use this semester to try out some more advanced techniques, that's fine. If you're brand new to data science and say, well, I'd like to use, get just more proficient with some of the basic data analytical tools and techniques that are available to me, that is fine. I've had students do a great job with their projects, either beginning, intermediate, or advanced levels. Let's see, we've got the dates, and other good things is I have really tried to get away from, let me put it this way, is there readings in this class? Yes, there is. Do you have to purchase a textbook? No, you do not. I have tried to make sure that all the materials are accessible from within the course shell. Also, I'm a big proponent also of using software that's available and free. So you should not have to purchase anything. One thing that would be very useful is make sure you have access to some sort of laptop or desktop, even if it is just a Chromebook will work. But it's really important. You got to have your, a piece of equipment with a screen and a keyboard. A phone will not cut it for this class. So if you're trying to do this course and you're saying, well, I'm going to do it on my phone, that's really stretching it. You want to really make sure and keep in mind a simple Chromebook will work just fine. So if you do not have your own computing device, see what's available to you from the on-campus computing labs, or at the very least, check out Walmart. Get yourself an inexpensive, Chromebook that you can just connect to Wi-Fi, and you can then just, use the cloud resources, the email, the Google Docs, the Google Sheets. You can use all our web-based analytical tools to be able to do your assignments. So that's the one piece you really need to have, either a Chromebook, a laptop, or a desktop. Okay. And as I say, the way we have it, half of your grade will be based on completing your data science project, and the other half will be based on the weekly assignments. Okay. And as I say, for attendance, the main thing for me, are you keeping up with the assignments? Are you looking at the readings? Are you, thinking about your data science project? Are you catching the recordings? Those are the main things in terms of attendance. I'm more concerned about the outcomes. Are you able to do the weekly assignments? Are you able to do a nice data science project? Okay. All right. And some of this is just, we talked a little bit of, well, I should mention on the plagiarism academic policies, one policy that we're still working on at UA Little Rock is the use of artificial intelligence tools. We will be talking about that. Certainly, employers today want students to know how to use AI tools. So we'll talk about some of the tools, for example, when you're working on your project and you want some help tracking down articles that might be of use to you for your project. You know, we will talk about, hey, there's some good AI-driven literature tools out there like Research Rabbit and Elicit that you would definitely want to check out. There are things that you might want to play around with a large language model. You know, when it comes to things like being able to do some brainstorming or to help you with for example, I use Grammarly all the time to help catch typos and to help me make sure that when I'm writing in a hurry that it helps to spot problems or issues. So we'll talk about, you know, how you can use AI. We'll also talk about some of the things that AI will not do for you. Interestingly enough, I am finding that a lot of these AI tools, they are not the big time saver that you might think that they are. So having good time management and getting an early start on your assignments and thinking about your project is important. We will actually have a week where we look at large language models. But I'll give you, for instance, what you have to watch out for. So I've had students experiment, you know, using OpenAI, ChatGPT. Some of the things that you can run into trouble with is you really have to read and proof ChatGPT very carefully. I had last semester, I'll give you an example of things that ChatGPT will do. Sometimes it doesn't get its adjectives right. I had a student turn in a report, and what did ChatGPT do? Oh, it talked about variables that were sexually active. And I'm like, what the heck is a sexually active variable? You know, but obviously ChatGPT, you know, this is, you know, sometimes when it pulls together phrases and words, it doesn't get the combination correct. In another type, somebody had cut and pasted in ChatGPT, you could tell it was ChatGPT because the paragraph literally said, thanks for submitting this data to ChatGPT. You know, based on the data that you submitted, here's, you know, what we, you know, determine is our analysis. And again, you got to proofread because you never know when ChatGPT will suddenly insert itself into your paper. And then the third thing was ChatGPT, you know, will sometimes, you know, you'll say, oh, I need some sources. I need to show my instructor that, you know, I looked at some references. You have to make sure when ChatGPT says, here's a reference, is it really a reference? So ChatGPT is very good at creating very realistic references. It will match up names of authors with names of papers, with names of journals, with names of, you know, volumes and page numbers. The problem is when you go to actually look up that article, you may find that that particular combination of authors, title, journal, volume, year, whatever, it doesn't exist. So when ChatGPT kind of, as you say, we'll talk about how large language models work. But the key thing is to remember is when they generate stuff, even though they used a body of knowledge to build their embeddings from which they run their large language model algorithms, the thing to remember is they are actually pulling, you know, probabilistically what they think should go together. They are not referring back to that original knowledge base. So you always want to make sure that if it gives you a reference or a source, can you go into another tool like Google Scholar and say, is there an actual article that I can read that matches? And so we'll talk, that is probably the biggest thing. I don't have any objections to people making use of AI tools to help them, improve the quality of their analysis and their writing. Just make sure that you're treating it as a tool, because ultimately what you hand in is your work. And if you have information that has basically been made up, at that point it's on you. Even if you say, well, that's what ChatGPT said, well, it doesn't matter. And and partly the reason we're taking that stance is that is pretty much the stance that companies work with. When they use AI tools to help them in their work, ultimately the company is responsible. If there's any mistakes or problems, it comes back to the company. And so that is why, everyone now who uses AI, you really have to check it and know what it's doing. And, in many cases, we're still at the stage, it's kind of like self-driving cars. We're not quite at the stage where you can completely take your, eyes and hands, off of the road and let the car drive itself. So think of the AI tool as AI assistance, but ultimately you want to make sure the product is your own. And maybe that will change in a couple years, but for right now, just be aware. And then, of course, inclement weather. One nice thing is now with all the online teaching platforms, the good news is the main change that comes with inclement weather is unless the power goes out or the internet goes out, we'll be able to hold class. The difference is everybody will be, will switch to online mode. Now, having said that, one thing about Arkansas is that weather conditions can be very localized. So use your best judgment. For example, my administrative assistant, he lives about 45 minutes outside of Little Rock. He woke up this morning and there was an inch of snow on the road. It was clear in Little Rock, but where he was, the roads really were very slick. And so he worked remotely. The same thing can happen to you. It may be that things are fine on campus, but there may be rainstorms, ice where you are. The other thing that can happen with the weather, when we get into the spring, if there are severe storm warnings, particularly anything tornado related, yes, put your safety first. We will be recording, and I'll be honest with you, we may be on campus, and if the tornado sirens go off, we're going to just have to stop class, and everybody needs to go down to the first floor, and we'll go down to the interior corridors. So that is the one thing with spring. Springtime weather in Arkansas can be very unpredictable. And certainly we've got online students that, depending where you are, use the, weather conditions and pay attention and know that as much as possible, we will try to continue online or do recordings, but again, always be weather aware. And we actually will have a second instructor, Dr. Dagtus, who has a really interesting background in multimedia analysis, will be joining me from time to time. And the other thing is, if you have any sort of disability that is interfering with your ability to get the most out of the course, let me know, let our Disabilities Resource Center know. As I say, I try to have everything in such a way that it is available in print format or also in a visual format. But we do have some limitations. I was sort of sorry to see, for example, Blackboard Collaborate does not have a good closed captioning. That can be a limitation. So if you have something like a visual or physical or any sort of impairment that you need information presented in a different way, do let me know. Fortunately, the assignments and the projects, you're going to have a lot of time, so you won't have to worry about the time limits. Okay. But that is the syllabus, and it stays, I was going to say, it pretty much stays as our charter for the course, but typically the first week, if I'm noticing typos or problems, we'll make some changes. Okay, let me just check. Any questions about the syllabus or the resources? I'm going to have a whole class period where I'm going to talk about the data science project, but I think in the interest of avoiding information overload on the first day, I think I'll move this to Thursday. But if you'd like to just kind of take a look to see, what is going to be in this final project, you can get a preview. This is going to be, I was going to say, this ebook folder we will be expanding upon, and sometimes students give me good suggestions for things that would be useful. As I say, this is a broad survey course, and we're going to be looking at a bunch of different types of data and different techniques. For your research project, you get to pick what is what is the problem or question that you're interested in? What sort of data would you like to select? And what kind of tools would you like to use to look at that data to help answer your questions? So that means that, some folks will be doing more statistical type projects. Other folks will be doing more text mining. Other folks might be using more machine learning. Some folks might be experimenting with, some AI tools. Some folks might even be saying, well, I want to, I'm working with some biometric data, and I need to use some specialty packages. So these are all out here as a reference, meaning I don't really have assigned readings, but some of the references that you may find useful. This is a wonderful online ebook that goes through just introductory statistics and how you can use some statistics to answer questions about your data. So that's a terrific book by Matthew Crump. So if you have questions, or for example, maybe you just say, I need to review correlation. It's terrific. Yeah, you can just go to the online, which I highly recommend, because he does some neat little online simulations to help illustrate various statistical concepts. So rather than trying to use calculus to explain, why things like the central limit theorem works, what he will do is he'll use simulations. And you can look at these little simulation runs to say, so that's why, the average of a sample tends to, form a normal curve. Okay. This is also a nice, again, this is a nice book that it's an overview of data mining. So again, if there's some things you'd like to do and you'd say, yeah, I really like, to get more information, about a data mining technique, this is a nice ebook. And again, you can, make this as nice and big as you'd like. Text analysis. Again, this is a nice ebook, for folks who would like to work with text. And you're like, yeah, again, you can adjust the size. But this has a lot about some of the main types of things that you would want to learn in a course devoted to text analytics. And then I do have this nice little guide that we got in the fall, again, that talks a little bit about how students can interact with AI. So again, that's you don't really have an AI policy, but I like this little guide. And again, if you have, I'm very open. So if folks have other books, ebooks, free ebooks that they found have been very useful references, we'll just add it, and this will be sort of our class library. So when folks need to look up a topic and they say, is there a book on this? There you have it. And then what I've tried to do is, and again, I'm a very visual person, so I like the fact that with New Ultra, I'm able to sort of decorate each week with sort of a visual for that week. But this week is really all about introductions and getting acquainted and getting comfortable. But then we'll go into talking about formulating a data science problem and where can you locate the data. Occasionally, I will have folks who say, well, I'm going to try to collect the data. And you can do that, and in some cases that works. But there is so much data out there, and one advantage of getting a data set that has already been collected is that allows you to have more time for other parts of the project, like analyzing the data or researching what techniques to use, or just researching the background. For example, if you're looking at credit card fraud, you might say, well, I need to do some research just in general about what type of credit card fraud is out there and what companies are doing about it. I mean, I just need to know more about the topic. Excuse me. So I feel more knowledgeable about what I see in the data. Okay. We're going to take a look now. This is one of the changes. In prior years, I used to try to focus, both on Python and on R. We will take a look a little bit at Python versus R, what those two packages are, why you might want to choose one versus the other. But I've decided this year to maybe just really focus on Python just as the main theme for the course. But as I mentioned, we'll talk about why you might want to use Python versus R. We will talk about, well, what if I don't want to use either Python or R? What about using a data mining package? What about using a spreadsheet? What about using an API? What about using a specialty tool for my particular type of data? We'll talk about the pros and cons. And as I say, no right or wrong answer. It's really, it's like, what tool is the best fit for the job that you have at hand. We'll have, in particular, Dr. Dactus talking to us about multimedia analytics and working with images. And I should mention that for every course module, you see there's this little down arrow. When you click it, it will actually open up the materials for that week. And what I've tried to do is have all the presentation materials, the readings, in some cases articles, and I don't quite know what Dr. Dagtus is planning in terms of assignments, but what I have done is for the modules that I've been working on, I've put together a little assignment. So part of what we'll do each week is we'll review an assignment that'll help give you practice with what we're doing on. Okay. And another change to the course is you'll notice what we've been trying to do is spend more time talking about some of the, I want to say, major data science applications and letting folks know, hey, you know, this is sort of a hot area, or this is an area where there's a lot going on, and making sure that as we go through that unit, you have some background, you can know the basic concepts and terminology. Again, think of this class a little bit more like a buffet, where we have a lot of stuff that we kind of give you a taste of, but the idea of the project is a bit so that you can pick what part of the buffet you might want to spend more time going into more depth. This part, computing strategies for handling big data jobs. You know, I used to spend 5 or 6 weeks on this topic. And one of the things that have really changed is the computing technologies have just gotten easier and easier. So during this time period, I'll just show you, you know, how, you know, if you needed to, for example, run your data, and you needed, it's massive amounts of data, and you need to get your work done, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. You know, you need to be able to get this data analyzed. Again, you know, in whatever you consider reasonable. So if you say, I need to have this job done with a couple hours, how can I get it done in a couple hours? And so I'll show you, for example, AWS, and I'll show you some of their services. And today, how easy it is to go into a cloud provider like AWS and say, hey, I would like to have a computing cluster, and I want to have, you know, 20 machines, and I want it to be set up, you know, with this type of configuration, with this type of software, and literally it's gotten it's just about as easy as going into a restaurant, picking up a menu, and ordering from the menu. Hand your credit card, you say go, they say, yeah, just give us a couple minutes, and then they come back, you know, and they've got your meal ready. So this is, the things that you used to have to do in order to run your big data jobs, again, we'll talk about some of the basic fundamentals, but this is an area where there's been just tremendous improvements, and the need to have to learn the details of Hadoop, or to learn the details of MapReduce, or trying to learn the details of how you hook up 20 computers and get them to work as a team and get the software all synchronized. All of that has really been automated, and all that complexity has been basically AWS takes care of all those details. So you're literally at the point where, you know, it's like driving a car. You know, you really kind of know, you need to know what you want to do, and the rest of it, you know, is taken care of. We will wrap up the course talking about ethical sustainability and legal issues associated with the data sciences. And again, the last thing that will be due first week in May is your finished project, a report, and a little 3-minute summary. And again, I think we'll spend Thursday, talking a little bit more about what that involves, but you're welcome to look ahead. And by the way, we'll be, I think, circling back almost every week to say something about the project, just to help students, go through the various steps. And in fact, we'll actually, as we, each week, we'll kind of be saying, hey, this is the week that, you should have sort of identified, your data science questions, and hey, here's the week where you really should, have gotten your sources identified, and is anyone having any issues? And then, as you say, so we'll try to keep these reminders going, so hopefully by the time you get to week 14, all you're doing is putting the finishing touches on your reports. So that's how we want to do it. So again, any questions? I'll just discard. Okay. Well, here, let me just go and switch gears for a second. And let me just talk a little bit about, okay, this is a course about data science, data technologies, but, it's an interesting question. What do we mean by data? And, one way you can think about data, and I'll just draw a little cloud here, okay? And what this cloud depicts is the real world. And when you think about it, what data is, I'll kind of draw it as a two-way arrow, is, one thing to think about data is really data is, and it's an abstraction in a way. It is data, is the value or set of values, representing one or more, concepts that, we want to capture about the real world. Okay. And, so usually what we're trying to do is, in a way, we're juggling those two things. We've got the real world, and then there's things that we want to capture about the real world. And, you might say, well, why would we want to capture stuff about the real world? Well, here we go. 1 second here. So there are. Let me get an image here. One second. 4 main types of data questions. Okay, I like this. All right, I found what I want. Okay, and for folks who are online, let me just get you caught up. Let me go back to the screen here. Okay. And, oh, I know, and let me just open image in new tab. There we go. Okay. So this is a great, this is actually coming from a LinkedIn article, but this is a very classic, I was going to say, this is a very classic, here we go, nice and big. So why would we want to collect data about the real world? Well, typically because there are, we have questions. And so this gives you an example of 4 types of things that we might want to know about the real world. So the first is descriptive. Describe what is happening in the real world. And This could be, this is often where statistics come in. This is where tell me, for example, what's going on in my environment. What's, so basically, what are the activities going on? What do they look like? How would you categorize them? Think about, who's doing it, what's going on, when is it going on, why is it going on, how's it going on, where is it going on? So these are so think a lot of times if you've had a Stat 101 course, first thing they want to talk about is descriptive statistics. But you can think of other ways that you could describe, what is going on. So, and they have here based on live data, but sometimes you're trying to describe what was historical data. So, but that's the first thing. Sometimes this is also known as exploratory, because again, sometimes what that, we're trying to describe something, we're trying to map something, we're trying to understand something. So yes, think of it as an exploration. Okay. The next type of questions we might want to ask are more diagnostic. Why are things happening? We might be looking at root cause analysis. We might be looking at correlations and associations. Now, those may not necessarily be causal in nature, but often we will start looking for associations and patterns to see if we can figure out, what is causing this thing to occur. Okay, so that's diagnostic. A third type of question is, we say, we kind of have started to describe the real world. We have a notion of sort of why things are happening, but now we want to start making predictions, inferences. We want to be able to say, given the history or given what's happening right now, or a combination of history and what's happening right now, what's likely to happen in the future. And particularly when you get to the predictive area, now you're getting into things like more advanced statistics. So if you had things like regression analysis or time series, you were in the predictive space. If you've done any sort of data mining, some of those techniques get you into, given these conditions, how likely is it, we're trying to make a prediction, will this person, be likely to develop diabetes, or will this person be likely to develop this health problem, or is this person likely to become one of our customers? Okay. And then prescriptive. Prescriptive is often, that often is the most, let me put it this way, the most complexity, because a lot of times prescriptive says, what are our future actions? What should we do next? So this is kind of where you get into those advanced algorithms. So you get into the more advanced machine learning, and this is where AI starts to figure in a major way. Can we develop something that will not only predict what's going to happen, but let's suppose we would like to have a certain outcome that we're really hoping to happen. What can we do to help maximize the chance that that outcome will happen? So it goes from, I want to, how likely is it that I'm going to lose 10 pounds by the end of 2025? Well, prescriptive is tell me more. Tell me what are the things that I need to be doing what is the best course of action for my personal case that would help me to achieve that goal. So those are sort of the four levels of things that we'd like to be able to do with this data, about the real world. Notice this is very common. They talk about the fact, notice at the bottom, the complexity versus the value. Now, I was going to say, when you do your projects, I've had students do wonderful exploratory analysis, and they've gotten an A. So don't think, oh, unless I'm doing AI, I can't get an A. No, all of these, in my mind, have a great deal of value. And so don't be afraid about saying, I want to do a really good descriptive analysis, or I want to do a combination of descriptive and some diagnostic. So as I say, you can kind of pick where it is. And again, everybody's a little different. Folks who, for example, who are coming in who's already had a number of courses in data mining or statistics, they might say, well, what I really like to do is spend the extra time in the course helping me to extend my knowledge, to do some of these, I like to, have the opportunity to kind of try out some of these tools that I've heard about, but I haven't had a chance to really play with. This could be your opportunity to get to know those techniques a little better. Okay. All right, but that should give you an idea of typically this is what we want to do with the data. Now let's go back to our whiteboard. Now I'll just bring this over here. Yeah, so let's just talk about, let's just get some things going here. And this is where folks are welcome to use the chat, and we'll get some folks into the class. But let's just talk about just how complex the world of data science is. And data science as a field is really, think of it as an umbrella. It is more, when we say umbrella, think of it as kind of is a field that is encompassing how we take those questions and apply them to data that's representing some aspect of the real world that we're interested in studying. So let me just take a look here, and let's just start off. What are some categories of things that we want, that's in our real world that we want to know about? Let's start with web and social media. What are things that you might want to, what are examples of things that you could observe, measure, collect about web and social media? What's out there on the web and social media? What do you find out in the web and social media? What's out there on the web? What do you like to do when you're on, what do you like to look at when you're out on the web and social media? Instagram. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you got Instagram. So, and what's out on Instagram? What do you find out on
Stories.
Stories? Yes, they've got stories. Do they have pictures? Yeah. Do they do videos too? Yep, they got videos. Sure. Chat? Yep. Oh yeah, they got chat going on. Chat, yeah, comments going on. And I got to remember to take a break because, I realize when I'm typing in the text box that it doesn't show for the online folks. So, yes. And folks who are online, yeah, feel free to chime in. Oh, yeah, Deepak says, yeah, don't forget about, yes, you've got X and other, short messaging systems where, yes, we're looking at tweets. Now that they've gone to X. Do they still call them tweets? I don't. Yeah, I have no idea. What? Yeah. Yeah. It was Twitter and tweets, and now that it's X, what is it? I don't know. Yeah. Well, that's another topic. But yes, you've got Twitter now, X. What are other web and social media stuff that people like? What was that?
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Oh, yeah, sure. Let's put Facebook. And Facebook is interesting because now they're getting into, Meta. So now we're talking about, maybe studying virtual interactions. How does that? But yes. But again, yes, stories, pictures, videos. That should be, chat, comments. Oh, Snapchat, yeah. Let's put Snapchat.
TikTok.
Oh, yes, TikTok. Yes, we're all waiting to see what happens with TikTok. Yeah. Yeah. So there, stories, pictures, videos, chat, comments. And video is very interesting because video is not only moving pictures, but technically, you can think about text and you can also think about sound. And then of course you have, there's even things like body language, that, you could say, well, that there's a source of that there's an aspect there that can be captured. Oh, pins on Pinterest. Yep. And of course, there's all different categories of things, because we have stories, but we have things like reviews, we have, how-tos, we've got, recipes, we have commentary, opinions, satire, yes. Yes, news articles. Oh, very good. Yes. There's news articles. I like that financial analysis. Yes. That is one thing, that you might be interested in. Not just what is going on the web and social media, but maybe you're interested in the politics surrounding web and social media, or you're interested in the financials, or the usage. What are the demographics? What are the marketing aspects? Who are the various audiences? And of course, it's worldwide. So, looking at, who uses what in what part of the world. Very good. So we've got a web and social media, and let's take another category. And here, I'll just clear this. So just remember, we've got the real world that's out there, and let's talk about. Oh, here we go. Let's talk about. We talk about machine or technology data, but this is things that I want to say instruments that can help us capture information about the real world. Excuse me. And so here's what we're talking about here. Think of things like sensors or meters or other instruments. So this is something, this is an area where data can come from. So take, for example, weather data, okay? What are the things that we can capture about the weather? When you get up in the morning, what do you want to know about the weather?
Whether it's going to rain or not.
Oh yeah, precipitation, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, precipitation, yeah, basically rain, sure. What else do you want to capture about?
Air quality.
The air quality? Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, that could be, yes. I like that, yes, air quality. Sure. What else do you folks want to capture about when you step outside? What are the things that
Temperature.
The temperature is a big one, sure. We might want to capture temperature. Heat index. Oh.
No, UV index.
UV. Oh yeah. All right. Yes. Oh yeah, I love it. UV index. That's a great one because, we have our sight, but we have instruments that, for example, will help see into the ultraviolet or help see in the infrared. So yes, absolutely. So instruments, technology really extend what we can see into the real world. Yeah. Let me just see. Probably spam. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yes. So we've got weather data. We could have things. And this is actually one of the growing areas. Is you could have pressure data. You could. What's that?
Humidity.
Oh, humidity. Yes. You could have humidity. Yes, you could have moisture. Yes, you could have air movement, looking at the wind. And of course, a lot of these things are multidimensional. What is the direction of the wind? What is the speed of the wind? Yeah. What is the type of wind? Is it a straight line wind? Is it, more of a circular type wind? Absolutely. Think about too, what about water? A lot of times, salinity, salt content, maybe because we have sensors, we can put them into the water because we're trying to measure things about the water quality. Of course, this is a big one. If you've got a phone, you can capture, not only things like day and time, you can, you can capture, geolocation. And keep in mind, this is an area we don't deal a lot. I want to say in the information sciences, we don't deal a whole lot with sound data or signal data, but this can be very big in engineering. This is also can be very big in biology, wildlife. We kind of know now that animals, for example, I'll give you for wildlife studies, they now know that they can put out a recorder, and let's say they hear a snow leopard, and it turns out that the call of each snow leopard is like a fingerprint. And of course, to us, it all sounds the same, just like everybody's fingerprint. When we look at it, all our fingerprints, look about the same. But with the right instrumentation, you can pull out those minute differences that uniquely identify somebody. And so it turns out that things like animal calls, when you actually analyze the sound, it's like a fingerprint. And that's why they can actually play back the recordings and analyze and say, oh, that was the same snow leopard calling 10 times, or that was 10 different snow leopards, or that was 5 snow leopards each calling twice. So that gets us into an interesting area of, that kind of merges into all that biometric data. So, yeah. So what are some of the things that you can collect about your own body?
Height, weight.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Yes. So we got height. Yeah, excellent. We've got height. Sure, you got weight. You got
BMI.
BMI. Yay. What was that?
Blood group.
A blood group. Yes, blood type. Oh, absolutely. Blood type. And let me just, yeah. What else can you know, what do we collect about folks?
Skin tone.
Oh, skin. Oh, yes. Like skin tone. Yes, yes. Yes, skin tone. Sure. Oh, absolutely. Skin tone.
Blood pressure, heartbeat.
Oh, blood pressure. Oh, yeah. Blood pressure. Yeah, which is very interesting because, you know, blood pressure, again, is actually, what, 2 measurements. It's a ratio of 2 measurements. Yeah. Medical data, I came from a background of business data, and then I got to know our bioinformatics, and then over at UAMS, the biomedical informatics. And let me tell you, medical data, so much more complex than what you would find. You know, most businesses, you can do so much with spreadsheets, but think about what we can collect about the human body. We've got everything we can collect about people. So as you say, we've got blood type, skin tone, height, weight, BMI, your blood pressure, your temperature. We can do lab work and, you know, measure things about your white cell count. We can get down and actually, you know, 23 and me, or ancestry.com. What's the 23andMe or whatever? So you can get down to looking at DNA. You know what's going on at the cell level, and that is an area. We have a program, bioinformatics, which is basically data science for cell data, specifically things like the DNA and the nucleic acids, and how these, you know, provide the instructions for, you know, how proteins, you know, are formed, and the types of functions that they enable the cell to do. So we've got that. What else do we have? We've got a lot of image data in medicine. You know, you've got everything from x-rays, and then you have things like the biopsies.
MRI.
Yeah, yes, we have MRI. Yes, a lot of times they will do a biopsy. Yeah. And then, of course, you have all the electronic health record. Yeah. Then you've got, you know, all the electronic health record data. And then if you want to go a little higher at the community level, you've got basically population health. Public health. So this is where, you know, we look at information. You know, this was big during COVID. You know, we had all these maps, and we were, you know, doing all this analysis of where was COVID spreading in the population. But it is amazing. There is everything. You've got fingerprints. Yeah, we talked about fingerprints. You've got voice. you've got looking at the iris, the retina, you've got face, you've got a hand shape, you've got things like handwriting, you've got, we mentioned DNA, but even things like body odor. Doing the chemical analysis. And there is something about odor, because I know UAMS has done studies where they've had, for example, dogs who can, basically look, they have someone with skin cancer and somebody without skin cancer, and they've shown that dogs can actually there's something about skin cancer that the odor is different than, just normal skin that does not have skin cancer. So, a lot of interest in trying to figure out, and even things like, this was sort of interesting, gait. Someone told me that a person's gait can be like a fingerprint. Okay. Wow. So we are out of time, and we're still talking about data. So just be aware that yes, we are surrounded. We're surrounded by the real world, so we're surrounded by data. And so keep in mind that everything about business and transactional data, that's all still there. And then, of course, just all the data, everything that, humans generate through email, documents, writings, speeches, etc. All right. So this is a good note, because we are at 2:57. I'm 2 minutes over. Thank you so much. It's just something to think about. We will, on Thursday, we'll talk more about the data science project, and we'll also talk about the first assignment. But for today, just kind of use the time to get acquainted with the Blackboard course shell, and I'll make a note that on Thursday, definitely we will talk about more on how to organize a data science project, and we'll also talk about the first assignment. And have a great day. And the reason I'm getting this so funny, for folks who have heard my phone dinging, I have relatives in Florida and Georgia, right along the Gulf Coast. Yeah, and they're like going bananas because they're like, oh, there's snow, and it's like, okay.
It was so beautiful when it snowed here.
Yes, last week.
I was in Bentonville. It was like really, it was my first time seeing snow.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
And that was a really nice snowfall because it was all snow. Sometimes we get this sleety, icy mix that isn't as pretty, but you could actually build a snowman or yes, take pictures, show your family. Look, this is what you can do with this much snow. Yeah.
And it kind of did snow heavily in Windrock too. It was like 7 inches or something.
Yeah, we got about 8 inches at my house. So, and it was a nice snow because the temperatures warmed up enough that it melted. It lasted long enough that you enjoyed it, but then it dissipated quickly enough. So like today, yeah, it's nice dry streets. It's cold, but at least you're not worried about slipping or falling or anything like that. So, all righty. Well, take care, everybody, and see you on Thursday.